You're welcome to today's episode of Let's Build Africa. Today I have with me some important personalities who will be helping me to digest a very important topic, which is building Africa beyond aid, the role of the youth. So today's topic is a little bit controversial because there is a belief that the leaders that are handling the positions can do the work better than the youth because the youth do not have experience. Okay, so I have with me here a brother, Joshua. Please, can you tell me more about yourself? The people want to know more.
Thank you. Let me start by appreciating you for having me here. I don't take it for granted. It's a very beautiful pleasure for me.
Thank you very much.
Yes, it's such a good moment to come and share such wonderful thoughts with Brianna TV. My name is Joshua Naviti. I am a research student in electronics and communication engineering. Basically, I love introducing myself like that. I'm an academician and I'm also a teacher.
That's good.
Yes.
That's good. Thank you very much. Mr. Joseph, please can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay, so before, I would like to also thank you guys for inviting me here today. It's a great honor and a great privilege that I've been called upon to also speak on issues that really have impact on Africa, issues that I believe is very important and significant in the development of Africa. So my name is Joseph Nodubuahin, and I'm studying material science and engineering here in Egypt. So thank you very much for hosting me and say hello to all your viewers. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Even as we have started, you can realize there's some sort of heat. It's like we are ready to give us solutions to the problems. Okay, so today's topic, as I said earlier on, is building Africa beyond aid, or Africa beyond aid. And we want to focus more on the youth playing a role to make sure that is achieved. Okay. So I'll start with you, Mr. Joshua. Okay. So, like I said earlier, there is this belief that experience is important. Having experience is very important. It helps you to be able to analyze situations very well and make good judgments. And at the same time, in Africa, we have had people, the leaders, who are, in quote-unquote, experienced, who are older than us, who have seen a lot of things better than us, but still, the development is not really going on well. So the issue is it about the experience, or is it the zeal? Like the youth, they are more interested to take the positions, because they feel like the systems and the ideas of the leaders are archaic. So they want a system where when they are given the chance to handle, they will put in more effort. So there's zeal. So is it experience or zeal? Which is more important?
In my opinion, and I'm sure my opinion is going to be of good importance, it may not really be about experience, and so often it is also not going to be about this. In as much as when we put it like this, it doesn't mean they don't play a role. There is a time when they play a role. But you see, having experience and not learning out of it is a big challenge. Also, having zeal without good knowledge is also not going to help anything. For example, there are some experiences we have had in Africa, right from our old inception. Experiences of poverty, experiences of lack, experiences of always raising our hands to the white man to give us something. The question is, have those experiences helped us? Has Africa learned from them? So if we bring experiences out, but when we are not using these experiences to learn something, it is not going to help us. Then also when we get on the side of the youth, yes, they have proved it to be zealous. They want to pursue out certain things. They feel like if they are brought on the front, maybe through politics or through what, they have the energy to change something. The question is, do they have the knowledge that can bring about something? Because I'm thinking, every time you have a lot of zeal, and another person has experience, I now want to compare the two. With your zeal and with another person's experience, there is a very big gap. You have zeal, but you don't have the other person's experience. So this zeal here should also be applied to knowledge. Then it is going to make sense. Otherwise, we can be zealous about everything, and maybe probably the end of it all becomes a pursuit, trying to try this, try the other, and try the other. But if we get that zeal and give it the right knowledge, then the youth can push something. Yes.
Is it that you need to age to get an experience, or you can be a youth, very young, and still have an experience?
Okay, thank you for your question. I love the summation my brother gave. I will take it from this perspective. When we look at Africa, looking at our leadership landscape, we have almost very old people occupying several positions. And let's ask ourselves, how much have we gotten out of these old age people in these positions? So has age actually helped us as a continent? To me personally, no. Okay, and it doesn't mean that because they've not done enough, age doesn't also count. But what I actually want to point out is that it's not really about age. It's really about what you can do when given the positions. Because let's take it for instance. We know of Bill Gates. We know of Elon Musk. We know of Jeff Bezos. These great people, what am I driving at? They make changes in our daily lives, or their activities brought tremendous change in the life of almost all the people in this world when they were very young. When you take, for instance, Bill Gates, he was at the age of 19 when he started Microsoft. And Microsoft has changed the technological industry to the point that we all have access to personal computers that is affecting our lives positively in our generation. And he was at the age of 19. Okay. We also have Elon Musk. He was at the age of 30 when he started the SpaceX company. And this is also breaking the grounds of space exploration. So it doesn't necessarily mean that because you are old enough and you're in a position, you'll be doing more. It depends on what you have as a young person or as an old person, what you have to offer us. If what you are giving us is good and is transforming our lives for the best, then I feel that is what we need. So it shouldn't necessarily be about age, but what the person can do.
So my follow-up question to you again. Okay. So what do you think is the reason why most nations, not just Africa, but most nations put a restriction on age before one can even apply for public position? What could be the reason?
I believe, just as you asked my friend, they feel and believe that at tender age or at a younger age, they don't have the enough experience to occupy such positions. And they may be partly true or partly wrong, depending on the individual or the young person who is coming in for the position. So if the person has an in-depth knowledge or is more qualified to occupy the position, whether he's young, I believe he should be given the opportunity. And it shouldn't be centered or pivoted on the age. Because some people also have the experience and they are old, but they are not giving us what we need. So even if he's young and he has the experience, he has the knowledge, he has the capability, why not? So it shouldn't just be on the age. Okay? But I think that the old people think we are not experienced enough to be entrusted, because they feel maybe young people are more careless when they are given such huge obligations or positions to hold.
Mr. Joshua?
Yes, please.
So now we want to deal with the reality on the ground. Okay. So the issue is, even these old people that we allow to occupy these positions that we have, you have opposing views, you have people from different political parties. Now you have maybe political party A telling you this is what he can do when it comes to the ground, or criticizing the actions and behavior of party B. Now, here is the case, when party A is given the chance to come and he gets to meet the reality, he even does worse or even faces more problems than the party B. So the issue is the reality on the ground. Do you think the ideas, this mindset that the youth are having, that when we are given the position, we can do better? Do you think it is realistic?
Trying to focus on the youth
Yes.
and probably the pressure or the challenges that they are getting from the people who are already in the team or already existing. Number one, it is also a background issue. It is a challenge, and I think it's so much affecting us in Africa, where we are used to the old systems. For example, let me use a sector that I know very well, like education. We are depending on all the systems where we knew that somebody to be called a professor should be first having gray hair. If you really went to a lecture room and your professor is not having gray hair, you're thinking they don't have that experience. That was the old system. And of course, I think we can know how that occurred, because we had a lag in how each of these stages could be achieved. So by the time somebody would become a professor, it's actually when they were having all the gray hair out. But the seasons and generations have changed. Today, you're talking of a professor at 28, 29, 30 years, and they have the knowledge to give you what you need. So the question is, do these youth have the knowledge and the responsibility to offer what they are talking about? If we can only reach that place, we have very many answers. So if a certain group like B was playing from an elderly position or from a position of experience, it's important for them to look at Group B and agree that Group A, and agree that Group A has got a certain knowledge. Besides their zeal, they have got a certain knowledge, and they are willing to take responsibility of these issues and pursue them and put them on board. Let them be given the chance. Yes.
To you again, in fact, it doesn't really matter the fact that the current leaders are not doing what they are supposed to do. We need to go in depth, find out the situation on the ground before we start even lamenting that they are not helping us. Is that what you're trying to say? Yes.
Lamenting will always remain an issue, and especially when it comes to politics. At least I agree. You will believe me on this. As long as it comes to politics, it's not easy that you will always not pick up a lament. It's not easy that you will not always look at the other person's weakness and challenge and limitation and all that. And so every time we build on that, it's not going to make the right party. In fact, let me even bring it like this. If, for example, you are the one in the senior position, and I'm the one in the youth that are trying to push up to do something, if I observe a weakness with your team or with your policies and everything, that does not mean that I am able to offer a solution to it. Okay. Simply coming out and I say, you see, Group B are doing like this and this, and does that make me able to solve what you're going through? Even actually at the point when you're facing it, given even your experience and all that, it means you're trying to handle a lot of things around you. It must be requiring a certain knowledge for me to first have before I can really feel, because you've got a challenge, so it should be moved away and then I come in. No, the question should balance from both sides. If the youth should be zealous, let them take the responsibility. Let them have what it takes. It's not just about commenting on the other group's weaknesses and challenges. And like politics is, every time, however good a certain group is, there will always be those weaknesses and comments that will raise upon them. But whoever is raising should be ready to be in a place of offering a solution.
I'll come to you. So it's a follow-up, just a quick one. So, like I said, if you lament about a situation, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're offering solution. Now, here is a case, you're not given the chance to offer the solutions. You're not given the chance to take up the positions that they are working with. Now, this is my main question to you. Now, the question is, we have a situation where the youth, most of the time, are not happy with the current administration because they feel that most of the activities or the implementation or the policies that are coming into play are not to their benefit. Because they want things that are in this 21st century, things that is advanced, like more technological advancements, more way to get more employment, things that will make it easier for them to really make a living. Here is the case, the older generations, because they've already achieved whatever they want to achieve, maybe they will not really do anything that will even help the country or the youth in the long run. So what's your comment on that?
I believe that if I'm a young person and I'm not having what I feel is due me, there's always a cause to lament. Because we feel as young people, the older generation owe us some resources, or they owe us of our future, because they are leading us now. So we believe that since they are leading us, whatever they do should have a positive impact on our lives. So if that is not happening and our lives are retrogressing, the youth are not prospering as they want to prosper, then there will always be a cause for lamenting. There will always be a cause until perhaps the leadership are doing things that we see effective change in the lives of the young people. Until that happens, there will always be lamentations here and there. Because it's very disappointing to see that even though the young people are lamenting, sometimes you find these same leaders prospering in one way or the other, living life that seems to be comfortable for their families. But meanwhile, the majority, which are the youth, are suffering, trying to make ends meet. So in that sense, it harbors this grief in our hearts, and they have a cause to lament. So until things change, that we see positive impact in our lives as the youth, there will always be that lamentation about the leaders not doing anything to help us.
Thank you very much. So you are watching Piana TV, and this is Let's Build Africa, Building Africa Beyond Aid, the role of the youth. We'll be going for a quick commercial break. We'll be back. Please stay tuned.
That Konbanwa.
Konbanwa.
Oh, Piana TV?
Yes.
Oh, check it. Piana TV? Piana TV.
Oh.
Oh.
Piana TV.
Watch all yours.
We pick your views, you don't wanna lose all the jokes and thrills we bring to you. We take you to entertainment, look the looks. We serve you with trendiest filler, dandiest thriller. Or there is a more, it's a fan-filled villa. Fashion talks, relationship talks, there's more. Idea there's a great chinchilla. We got the best for you, we got the best for you. We serve you with honor, we leave the choice to you. To tune in and station to the best TV station, that's Piana.
You are still watching Let's Build Africa, and I'm your host, Prince Hoton. I've always been here with you. If you just joined us, this is Let's Build Africa, and today our topic is Building Africa Beyond Aid, the role of the youth. Before we went for the quick commercial break, we were discussing why the youth should be given the opportunities and why they shouldn't, and the reality on the ground. Now we want to talk about what we mean by Africa Beyond Aid. So, Mr. Yusuf, when we say Africa Beyond Aid, what do we mean?
Okay, thank you once again for your question. So Africa Beyond Aid, in my own personal view, is Africa becoming self-dependent, or becoming independent of help from outside Africa to achieve its developmental goals. Okay, so basically from foreign aid, because most of the infrastructure or some of the developmental projects we see all around are being funded by external bodies outside Africa. Okay, and so there has to come a time where Africa will be able to finance its own projects. Africa will be able to do things it wants to do by itself, by not soliciting for help from outside its territory or its domain.
Mr. Joshua, please, do you have any comments?
Trying to talk about Africa Beyond Aid is Africa taking responsibility of African issues. It's you see, we can look at Africa on a big scope. but usually to introduce things from a more meaningful form, is to even look at Africa as just a unit of family. And you know, I'm an African and I'm taking a shape or a place of the father. Trying to go beyond these things is trying to take responsibility of my own home. It goes that way. The situation where Africa is thinking another outsider is going to come and take care of my home and solve my issues and help me become better is really not going to help us. And of course, we can bring it from the existence of things. That the first thing that going beyond aid should really bring to our minds is trying to fight against our history, or try to change the experiences of our old days. Because I think in Africa we can perceive that the hand of the white man has been there since very old, even when they were first enslaving us and all that. So we get in that experience and then we grow trying to get used that, you know, this white man should always be there for our aid. So we have to, the first place of getting out of this platform is first going against our experiences. And that's when we can now get out and become responsible of our own inside things.
So to you again. So the issue is that we want to, like what both of you said, we want to be able to help ourselves without the need to go for foreign aid. Do we have everything that we need? Or are we capable?
Oh.
Do we have everything that it is to be able to be self-reliant?
Well, I love the question. Do we have everything?
Yes.
Yes, we have everything. That is something that should be true to every African. Yes, we have everything. And the easiest way to understand these things is from principles of naturally existing things. And actually, it's one of the directions that I would always want to use when I'm addressing African issues. It is from the principle of what is inside and not outside. And if we can discuss it from a little angle of a seed, if you have a seed and you get it and put it in the ground, for example, if I was the farmer, I even lose responsibility. You have nothing else to do on that seed. But the energy, the biological mechanism, and all that this seed requires to start expanding within the soil there, exert some space, develop its own roots, and later protrude out, and it can have a leaf or two outside the ground. All that energy is inside the seed. Inside the seed. So when it comes to Africa, if Africa can organize itself into a form of a seed, then they should know that everything that they require is inside. Everything we require is with us.
Mr. Joseph, do you have any comment on that?
Yeah, I agree with him. First of all, God has blessed us as a continent with so much resources that we could have taken full advantage of. But even with those things, we are still not seeing any change. Why? Simply because we've not mastered the courage to transform our lives with the things that we have. And I always tell my friends that there are things that if as Africans we pay more attention to and try to use and try to transform or try to add value, will make us more dependent than things that we go out to seek for. So many things that we have that rather the white man comes to take, transform them and bring them back to us. Even not talking about natural resources, even the human resources that we have. Many black people are enriching the whites by their knowledge, by their intellect. So if we can have that courage that whatever that we have, we are going to transform that to benefit our own lives, then I believe we can go beyond aid. all that we need is right with us, just as my brother says. It's right with us.
My follow-up question to you. This is something that is personally in my heart, because I always like to see things in a realistic way as possible. So the point is, when we talk about African Beyond Aid, are we talking about the aid starting from this century, or we are saying that this should have been something that should have been done even way before we even get to this stage? The reason I'm asking this question is because to be able to even transform these natural resources that we have, we need some knowledge about what we have. Okay. Now, how do you know what you have without, for instance, Ghana? Okay. I could see that probably the gold, the diamond, the cocoa, or whatever that our forefathers used to see or have, probably they didn't really see the extreme importance of it. Maybe they only saw the importance in their respective environment. But to the global world, it had more value than what we saw. So maybe without the white, without them opening our eyes to see how important this gold is, how will we be able to know or to even learn to transform it? So is it possible that we can be without aid in any form at all?
Okay, yeah. African Beyond Aid, in the realistic view, is a possibility, but it's not going to happen in the shortest possible of time, because Africa state now, to me personally, would take so much effort, and a lot has to be done before we can say that we actually don't need anyone. And before I continue, let me point out that let's just not treat aid as if aid is bad. Let us not think that Africa, we want to develop, so we don't need anyone help to move. Everyone in this world at a point in time needs help. But the point is, what do you do with the help that you get? And for how long have we been receiving this aid? Okay, so people that was reading, they said this aid has been given to us for about 6 decades now. And the question some people argue about is that if this aid could help Africa, then I think 6 decades is enough. But what do we see? The more we get the aid, the more deplorable, the more poorer, the more devastating our issues become. Okay, so at this point, we can't say we don't need the aid, because forgoing the aid at all, in that sense, we don't. I don't think we can. But the issue is, are we going to have that change of mind that we are going to do things that will benefit us, even if we have the aid, so that in the years to come, some time to come, because as I said, the change or the beyond aid for me will not be happening any time possible, in the shortest time possible. But it will take some process, it will take some time, because even the mind that we have in respect to aid is also another thing to talk about. Because let me say this, if you are a son and you are as old as 30 years and your father still gives you money anytime you wake up, he pays the school fees of your children, takes care of your wife, such a son, do you think will have some burden of trying to live his own life? No, because he still sees the father as a source of life. He still sees the father as someone who will always help him when he's in need. But until that person realizes that he's old enough to take up his own cross and try to do things for himself, his life will still be going down the drain. So until we decide and we make sure that we are changing our ways from not solely building our lives on aid, I don't think we can go beyond the aid. But as I said, it will take time, because we've come a long way in a mess. We've come a long way. Things are very much in a mess. And it will take certain pragmatic steps from ourselves before we can change things, before we can go beyond it.
So I think you've actually kind of answered the next question. Why is it important for us, for Africa, to be beyond aid? So I want you to give another benefit. Why should I be even worried about? Why are you worried that Africa will need to be beyond aid?
In fact, we should be worried. We should be worried. Like from the example that you used when you referred to Ghana, we had these resources, the cocoas and everything, but the people could not take it as important or as resourceful as they later found out when a white man offered a hand. I think we should worry about that situation. And I think that situation should help us find ways of waking up. Because we should not sit in that kind of incapacitation. That's not who we are. We should be able to choose to refuse the fact that we have resources, but we cannot know how valuable they are. We are not disadvantaged to that extent. If these things happen in our experiences or in relationship to the generation and stage at which our forefathers were, as it comes to today, let's take the responsibility and let us find out how we can change this from happening. If our fathers, our former generations were lacking in knowledge, it's not the case today. So we should take the responsibility. In fact, like we have been discussing even in the first session, the history of Africa has been there. Yes, it has disadvantaged us in so many occasions. But you see, it is time that we get to know how to utilize our past experiences and history and turn them into something that can help. If, for example, we can just take that step and we realize that our former generations did not have any knowledge to do on how to turn value out of these resources, should we continue to take that same experience even up to date? So that's where we should come. And then the other point also, every time we are looking at the support from the white hand and everything, we should also take caution of how has the white man reached this place. If in Africa we have cocoa and we don't know how resourceful cocoa is, how has the white man been able to find out how resourceful cocoa can be? So this brings us to what we need to do in today's case, and this is why there is a worry. We have a lot of things to change. We have to change a lot right from our former experiences, our old generations, to now what is new. And probably we should use what is existing to now be able to catch a new image so that we get to know that we can actually use our own resources and come out of the hole. Just like my brother said, the hole is really so big, but we need to find a way of coming out. And one of the ways is first understand that we have what it takes. Yes.
So the question is, like, for instance, we are in a group, like the youth, we are in a group, and then we are all protesting, fighting for the same cause, that we want things to change.
Yeah.
And then maybe one political party realizing that, okay, he wants to bring division among the youth, he doesn't want them to be together. So he picks one person from the youth, supply you with money, supply you with what will make you feel comfortable. And then because of that, you forget the group.
Yeah, so
things like that.
That's why I'm coming that. It has been created by the leaders. Okay, they have influenced the others so that the division will exist. Because if I'm a young guy, let me take Ghana for instance. Ghana is very difficult to get a job if one way or other you are not affiliated to a certain political party, especially if this party is in position. Most of the people who get employed into certain jobs are people who are one way or the other affiliated to that particular political party. And those systems have been created by the leaders who are in the helms of affairs. And once that happens, so if I'm an individual and I am not affiliated to you, it means I'm going to struggle to have an opportunity. So until our leaders or until those who are leading us break those barriers, break those systems, try to change things that offers equal opportunities to everyone, this issue of me coming in and turning my back to behave in a different way will not happen. Because the last time my brother Job said, if you put a round peg in a square hole, it wouldn't fit. It wouldn't fit. So you yourself, you are bringing in someone perhaps is not qualified into a position. What do you expect? So until we break those systems that create divisions, there will never be that stability where the youth who really qualify, who really have the capacity, do not have that opportunity to lead in this Africa Beyond Aid. Because there are several people, young people, very talented, very smart, intelligent, but because they are being hindered by the systems, what they possess are not coming out, and they are being buried. So until such systems, the political system, as you said, until we change or we structure it in a way that gives equal opportunities, because in Africa, most of our political system is winner takes all, right? So if I'm the winner and I have to take all, I will always bring in people I believe will support my ideologies. I believe help me to reach where I've gotten to. So there will never be that equality for every person to also have a taste of what we all have.
Thank you very much. Mr. Naviti, so my question to you, final question before we go for the commercial break. So my question is that it's in relation to what I just said. So my question is, how are we supposed to trust the youth? Why I'm saying this is because if you have, for example, if you have a bundle of brooms, okay, it will be difficult to break than you have a single, or you have divisions. So the reason I'm asking this question is because of this. Now, if the youth are together, fighting for the same cause, sometimes we are aware that the youth is the manpower of the nation. Now, if we are together for the same cause, and we are on the leaders to change. Once the leaders cannot influence any youth, if we are together, we can cause a change in their behavior. Because they know that they depend on us to even be there. If you do not vote for them, they will not be there. So my issue is, how can we trust a group of people, youth, who would say A today, and because they have been advantaged by the same political party they are against, they will say B tomorrow?
I get your point, and actually I will back it up from what my brother was sharing, because the fact is, we would find it so easy to trust these youths. We would find it so easy to depend on the young stems and the young trees. But the problem is the systems on which they have got established. Because now, if I wake up tomorrow and the first thing that comes in my mindset is that if I need to change something in Uganda, I must first own a political party. That's a wrong system. And see, that is the reason why at the end of it, we are seeing the youth with the energy, with the zeal, but at the end of it, we are failing to trust them, or we know that if we trust them today, tomorrow they are going to change their objectives to be. It's because of the systems they are building on. And that is a very challenging thing. Whose systems, and actually if we back up to the same point with what we are building, you will realize that these systems, these political systems and party structures and everything, they are being established by certain aiding firms. There are certain hands that are supporting and giving aid to these parties. And as they come with that aid, they are influencing these parties with their own motives. And now while the youths are trying to be zealous, they are trying to be zealous while restructuring themselves into something that is already fallen. The whole output of the very thing is that even with the good zeal and good motives, they are going to get mixed in there. So the first thing is to first recognize that actually we don't have the right systems. And actually that's very true. Even when we bring it to the whole platform of politics and governance in Africa, it's not something dependable. And I think that will be a discussion of another day. But if the youth should only see a platform from politics, and if it should happen to only be that I should first be in political party A to be able to carry out this and that, we are going to end up failing because we are building on structures that are already fallen. Actually, it would even push us more better if we can help ourselves and the youth to get to know that actually there are other spheres where we can bring out our influence. Other than thinking that every time you have zeal to pursue something, you must first establish a political party, or you must first be a part of political party A or party B, or else if you are not part of those parties, you are not going to achieve anything. I can give a background of my country, Uganda. There has been a very recent move spearheaded by youths. And these youths have reigned from a different sphere. In as much as we know, which is very true, that politics will always take a hold on us, it will always control about everything, it will always influence everything, but we can use other spheres to bring about the change that we want to see. And that should be important for every youth to see. We can establish ourselves in certain spheres until those in the fallen political systems are looking for us to pick a change in what they feel we can bring on board. That's why I say that while these youths are becoming zealous, are they dependable? Do they have something that they are willing to take responsibility of? We can choose to be at a platform of responsibility in other spheres where systems are still okay, or where we can have the ability to change the systems. Because, as you know, it's going to be very hard for youth to come up tomorrow and we are changing the systems in the politics of Africa. You get it?
So what about if the youth have integrity?
Having integrity in the politics?
Not politics. You have a non-associated group, the youth of Ghana, who are all in all trying to make sure the leaders in the country work the way they are supposed to. But you have people who are being not in but who are being influenced outside influence, that it causes distraction in their mind. So my point is, don't you think if there is strong integrity among the youth, if they are honest to each other, very strong integrity, they will not allow the influence from the outside world to affect them. That is my point. It's not possible.
It can be possible, but you see, we are going to find out how we are building integrity. It's not something that is going to just work. And if we bring it to, for example, the politics, and in particular the politics of Africa, integrity is going to be a big issue. You get it? It's going to be a big issue. There will always need to be the right motive that can build that integrity. It must work from a very unique circle of very unique minds. But when it is a mind that is trying to build on these existing political systems, it's not going to work.
On the integrity issue, one person said that human beings, it's not always that we are rational. That is, if you present something to me today, I might reject it. But that same thing, try to package it in a different way and present it to me, I might accept it. And this behavior makes it very difficult to build integrity in our lives today, especially with the youth, especially someone who is desperate for an opportunity presented bare in a form that he sees is not fit, might reject it. But when presented in another way that he feels will solve his desperation, will even give him better things, I think he will fall for it. So it becomes difficult. It becomes difficult because you might reject it. What about the other persons? You might be rational. You might be trying to think about the world, Africa as a whole. That is not right. But what about your friend? Can you depend on him, just as my brother said? Can we depend on him to be to have that integrity? So it's very difficult to stick our necks to this point. Yeah.
Thank you very much. So we're going for a quick commercial break. Please stay tuned.
Pakistan? Konbanwa?
Konbanwa.
Oh, Rihanna TV?
Yes.
Oh, check it. Ajini Master. Rihanna TV? Rihanna TV. Oh.
Rihanna TV.
Watch all yours.
We pick your views, you don't wanna lose all the toast and trills we bring to you. We take you out to entertainment, loop the loops. We serve you with trendiest filler, dandiest thriller. Or there is some more, it's a fan-filled villa. Fashion talks, relationship talks, there's more. Idea there's a great chinchilla. We got the best for you, we got the best for you. We serve you with honor, we leave the choice to you. To tune in and station to the best TV station is piano.
Welcome back to the show. This is Let's Build Africa, building Africa beyond aid, the role of the youth. Okay, so we'll be going directly to how the youth would influence development beyond aid. Okay, so but first of all, I would like to ask them something simple. You have a situation where, in a way, it's a form of an aid. Maybe you have the government organizing some scholarship schemes for the youth to travel out to China, to the US, to learn how skills, so that when they come back, they can apply that, so that we become sort of independent on the European world or the Western world, because that is how you can help. Now you have the situation where the youth will go and they will not come back because they see greener patches there. So such a thing, how do you tackle it?
To begin with, I think the problem is not the youth going and not coming back. The issue is about what the youth want to achieve, or what the person wanted to achieve from this aid. And if we are to bring it to a national platform, the question is, the person got the aid, did they achieve what the aid was for? I think that should be the first thing. Did they achieve what the aid was for? The issue of going and not coming back, I think that could refer to another platform. Maybe it could refer to what this person got and how big it was, what was involved in it all. But even on the first background of things, if I got this aid and I was so concerned about what the aid can do at my home country, then it would be necessary for me to come back. Of course, we know we have challenges with our Africa home countries and all that. So that's why sometimes we are seeking out for the green pastures and all that. But if the concept is to build Africa, then that should stick in someone's mind. Yes, that should stick.
Because I'm asking this question because we've been made to believe that the China we have today wasn't the China yesterday. And you need to believe that most of the reasons why China is today is because they sent their people to other parts of the world to learn, to get knowledge, to get skill. And then when they came back, they came to help the countries of the world. So that was the background of the question.
And maybe if I'm to add on the same background of that question, I think that is one of the ways that the aid is also ending up not being useful. Because if I'm a Ugandan, and I got an aid to go out to Japan to learn something and come back and use it in Uganda. And then I go to Japan, and then after I have learned that thing, I get lost within there. Was that aid? Did it help me back home? So I think those are some of the challenges that we are also getting within the faculty of aid. It becomes a challenge, it becomes an exploit. At the end of it, it has not worked out anybody.
Joshua, so I want to talk about the aid itself. Sometimes don't we think that the conditions attached to this aid is what is affecting the leaders not to really make any good use of it? Can you make any comment about the conditions?
Okay, so the issue is not about them. For me, it's about us. Okay, so let me give a typical example. After the World War II, Europe was in devastation, and poverty was rising up. So much destruction here and there. And then US thought it wise to help Western Europe with aid to help build them back up. So they developed a plan called the Marshall Plan, which was in the form of aid to support Western Europe come back to their feet. But if you read further, you realize that people argue that before this aid took effect or was brought to change the life of people, Europe was on its way trying to pick up from the ruins. Europe had already started trying to grow out of the mess that they were in. So it tells you that even when the US had thought to help them, they have also already looked into their problem and have devised ways and means so they also want to what? Help themselves. So even if that aid came with conditions, they were ready to come out of that particular problem without depending on other people. And that aid lasted for only 4 years. It lasted for only 4 years. And beyond that, we don't see these European countries depending on aid. And in fact, they are even some of the world's greatest donors. Germany donates a lot, Sweden. So it's about them. Whatever the clause was with the Marshall Plan, we don't see its effect. If it was to cripple the Western Europe, it didn't work. For me, because the people had already made their mind to come out of what they were in. So if we as Africans, we are taking an aid, and even there are conditions that are meant to destroy us, I believe that once we receive the aid, what we do with them would determine whether those conditions are actually going to affect us. A typical example, in Ghana, I think we went for some grant from IMF, and it placed an embargo on employment. But I believe since we were able to do our things well, now we are out of those restrictions. It tells a story that at least we've done something good with that aid. That is why we've been able to come out of that embargo that was placed on employment. So it tells you that it depends on what we do. We do with the aid. Yes, perhaps they might have certain sinister motives, maybe in giving the aid, but what you do with it, will really show what will happen.
Yeah. So we need to prepare our mind. We need to be willing to help ourselves first. Have plans to help ourselves before even the aid comes. Thank you very much. Do you have any solution?
Even before we start looking so much on the conditions of the aid and all that, I think it should be so important to clarify which kind of aid you get, which aid, who is offering the aid. At least we all know that every organization or everybody offering the aid, they also have motives.
Yes.
They are not just giving you,
Yes,
maybe because they have a lot. Okay, some may be having a lot, but even while they are giving you, they have motives. So we should have all these judgments. And like my brother said, yes, all aid is not going to be bad. It is actually not bad. We have aid that is really aid. Like you hear the word aid, it is coming in to aid you towards something. If it's a seed, this aid is coming in like water, some kind of watering to water that seed, so that seed can be able to do what? To grow. So there is aid that is really aid. But now there are those aids that are coming to just hold you within and tie you up. So it's very important to first know the motives of the people offering the aid. Which kind of aid indeed? Like for example, I can give you an example of my country. Today, it's a very terrible story. There are some kinds of aid that our government has received, to the extent that it has reached somewhere, and when it looks within its calculations, it has no idea when this will be paid back or when everything will be cleared. So now that stops being an aim. It becomes something that is holding you up within a certain. And so that brings us back to the fact that what is the motive of the people giving you the aid?
Okay, so now let's delve into the role of the youth. How the youth can really support or keep their efforts without aid.
Without aid.
How they can help as a youth without aid to cause the development that we need. So I've picked three important areas. One is education. So since you are an academic, I would like you to take that. So what can you give me briefly what you think the youth can do in order to support this Africa Beyond Aid agenda?
And by the way, when we started from education, as you also know, education brings you at a platform that actually cuts across. You know, you start from education as a sphere, and then you are touching and influencing almost every other sphere. Education is the base. It is a source in itself. So as we bring it from education, we can actually see that from the education we can now influence almost every other direction. It's so important, and it is actually part of my prayer that Africa can come to a place where we are interested in finding out new things. That's a very important thing. And actually I can even build it from one of the examples that you were using about cocoa in Ghana. If it only happened in a time that Africa failed for anything to be done around Africa, the white man should first bring in either their effort or their expertise or their knowledge about that thing. It is going to be important if in Africa we motivate ourselves with the idea of finding out new things. If we are talking about building Africa Beyond Aid, that is one platform from which we are going to be able to build. And you see, one of the most important things, and I think my brother hit it on me, one of the most important things that you can give to yourself every time you're willing to find out something new is formation. You get a formation of your mind. Every time you're trying to pursue out something new, there is a way your mind is always going to catch an image that is new. And when you get that image that is new, you're going to start focusing on, and just know that catching new images today is one of the things that can help us to outgo our old history, where we've been used to our fathers receiving from the white man. Every time it's give me, give me, give me. When we start getting new images within our mind, then we are going to start understanding that actually we can put ourselves on a scale, become responsible, find out something, do it by ourselves. That is how it's going to work. It is from the willingness to find out new things, and as you give yourself to these new things, your image is going to your mind is going to catch a new image, and as you focus on that new image, you phase out the old image. That is one of the ways that Africa can build new things. It is one, in fact, if it comes to, for example, us, like me and you, who have got that particular advantage to reach at a certain level where you can give yourself to finding out new things, this is what we have to do. And probably tomorrow, or even as soon as today, God willing, we can become strong building blocks for Africa. We must be willing to find new things. And not only new things, we should be able to find those things that are actually building materials. Not just materials and not just new things, but things that can really build. You know, you are trying to lay up a certain construction, and you know that when I bring this thing on top, it's adding a brick on what I'm putting up. And one of those things is knowledge. We should really be at the real form of knowledge. a kind of knowledge that you can receive and it pulls something out of you. It's from an understanding from like what we shared in the first session, that we have all that it takes. That is one thing. We have it all. But you realize that, yes, we have it all, but have we reached that platform when we can give it out or use it to influence what Africa is facing? Then that should bring us to a place of being able to get the knowledge that can help us put these things out, that can help us get material to be not just material, but building material capable of adding a brick. So in education, we need to find out new things which are found on knowledge, basic principles, and we can use them to build something.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Mr. Joshua. Hey, Mr. Joseph, sorry. Your names are JJ.
I see.
Please help.
So, with regards to health, I believe that the youth should become aware of the importance of health in the development of every nation or every country. Because if our health system is very weak, or we as individuals are not having the right health, how can we develop? How can we do the things that we need to do? Okay, so I think the youth should be ready to become advocates, okay, who advocates or who speak out or be ready to teach people the right way of living. The right way of living, not even starting from somewhere, but ourselves. What are the things that we need to do that will not affect our health negatively? And it saddens my heart to see that in Africa, or not even only in Africa, but elsewhere, now most of us as youth, we are indulging in things that really affect our health, especially when it comes to substance abuse. That is jeopardizing our mental health, our physical health, and so many other things. So I believe that what we can do really is to be ready to do things that will prevent us from indulging in these things, and especially taking the charge of teaching our friends, talking to our peers, because these people who are involved in drug abuse or substance abuse are mostly our friends, and we can reach out to them very well. So if we create that awareness that this and that can affect us, then I think we'll be building proper health system in our countries. If we take charge and be ready to support the work that these advocacy groups are doing, if we take charge as youth, then I think it will go a long way to help us. And one thing that I've come to realize is that Africa, we have good herbal sources of the medicine that is good for the health. But we realize that most of us, we are not interested in them as youth. We are not much interested because we've come to believe that the orthodox way is the most perfect or something. So if we can also develop that interest and go into that sector and develop it well, since we have the curious mind and the creative mind, bring out new means, new methods, and come out with drugs or medical herbal treatments that are very good, I think it will go a long way to support our health system. It will go a very long way. I think basically this is more that we can do, because some of the issues that is bedeviling Africa, let's say maybe malaria and those things, it takes a lot of how do I put it? Research and money. And I don't think the youth will have that capacity. But these are the little things that we can do. Being advocacy of good health, and also venturing into other health sectors that are within our means, that are with us, local health things that are with us, that we can exploit to boost our health as individuals in Africa.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'll add this personally. There is this woman in Ghana who she went to US. Yeah, US. She went to US, and it's funny to know that there are some hospitals in my country that leak when it rains. Joseph here will bear witness to that. Hospital, a general hospital actually, Alex. Then there is this woman who saw the situation and he bought hospital beds, a lot of them, and then decided to ship them to Ghana to support hospitals that do not have beds. Can you imagine when the consignment came to the port, he was asked to pay huge sums of money to clear, and he even advocated that the president or the nation, the government, should see that this is bringing. It's not something that she's coming to sell. She wants to support the hospitals. They didn't. No one money, and the amount of money they are asking her to pay was so huge. She had to send the thing back. The thing was sent back to the US. So something like this. She's a youth. She was trying to support the health system in her possible means as possible. But the system, again, as we said, is making it difficult for her to do that. Okay, so now the last sector, we're going to share it. So we will say something small and you also something small. So the economic growth, socio-economic growth, how the youth could support beyond aid, the socio-economic growth. I'll start from something brief.
Economic growth, I think, for us as youth, what we can do is venture more into entrepreneurship. Okay. Because the shoulders of the government cannot carry everything. So we as the youth, we have the ability to create. We have the mind to be innovative. And once entrepreneurship is growing, new products, new services, new technologies are coming out. And they are creating new markets. And also goes on to create even more employment for other people to have something to do. So as youth, if we will endeavor to desire more of entrepreneurship, I believe it will help a lot, because we'll be the driving force. We'll be generating much income for the nation, and also even as we set up new enterprises, new startups, new jobs or new companies, the government also will have some tax revenues that they can use to also develop other sectors. So entrepreneurship for us as the youth should be our desire. It should be our desire. It doesn't matter the idea, whether big or small. Once we take the step and we put it into action, I believe that once it goes, it will go a long way to help the economic growth of Africa.
Mr. Naviti.
Yes, thank you so much. Economic growth, trying to see how we can empower the youth through economic growth so that we can outgo the dependence on aid. But it will also matter economic growth, how and in what. Yes, my brothers shared about entrepreneurship, but it will be important for us to know what we can do better. Yes, we shall not all go for entrepreneurship. Similarly, those ones who would go and others will not. If for example, I suggested in any other field or any other area of economic growth, they will all not go there. I think one of the most important things that we should embrace ourselves is, what can I do better? And on understanding what we can do better, the youth should also come to a platform of also realizing that all fields and all spheres can be influential. We should not be really locked only to what we can do in the political system. There is that discipline of thinking. There must be a certain office I'm holding to be able to influence A, B, C, D. We should also come to that platform of knowing that actually, for whatever I have, as long as I have potential in it and I can do it better, I can use it to influence the growth of my area and my spheres. So we should really be energized to build more on what we can do. If it is an ability or a talent or a certain knowledge or skill upon you, make it better. In fact, I think I mentioned it, that as you make that thing better, even those who are already in governance and politics will look for you. They will come to you to utilize that which is on you to improve something and change a certain surrounding, and later change the effects and the needs for aid all over and over and over. In fact, irrespective of how many good things that we need around Africa, as long as we cannot make choices to those things, they are not just going to come that easy way. And then the other thing also is responsibility. Just like, anything to do with growth and development does not just come from any mere scale. It comes from a scale of a few individuals who have chosen to take responsibility. So if we are to play it from the role of the youth should become responsible. Or if it is also from the platform of choosing, the youth should choose to take responsibility in these things that can bring about economic growth. Because, and you see, one of the challenges is when we are not able to take the responsibility and we only wait for a certain hand to come, and probably we think that if a certain hand comes, if a certain aid comes, then that's when we shall be responsible enough. Somebody thinks we shall only be responsible if there is maybe enough supply of a certain kind of aid. It has been a very common story, especially during politics time and campaigning. You'll find youths assembling themselves and they're, you see, if we had been given this amount of money, we can do everything. But you see, before that kind of politics and campaign season is there, you are not seeing these youths anywhere. In other words, they're not responsible anywhere, but they are trying to portray a picture that they should first be given something before they can do something or before they can show that they are responsible. There is a problem around that. Let us take the responsibility. Let us do those things that we can do wherever we are and whichever city as we are. Let us take the right choices that can bring about a certain development, and later on, or slowly by slowly, the economics of our environments will grow thereby.
For me, in this discussion, I have picked out just two things. And these two things are very important. I don't know what you have picked, my viewers, but I've picked two things. And those two things are, the youth do not need to be in a leadership position to influence economic growth in the nation. We can do that by, like you said, entrepreneurship, which is good. Like you also said, like having the mindset that whatever it is we need to do it well with the mindset of growth. And I think this should be something that should be sounding in our minds, so that we will not be so much perturbed by the actions of the leaders that we feel that their actions are going to impact on our growth. So I think this is really important. Thank you very much, Mr. Joseph. I'm very grateful that you honored our call. Thank you very much, Mr. Joshua. Thank you. And I hope that when we call you again, you will be ready to come to join us. This has been very informative. This has been Let's Build Africa. Thank you for watching. This has been Piana TV. Piana TV, watch all you want. We'll come your way next week with another informative and another wonderful segment. Please stay tuned. Like, share, and comment. Bye-bye.